G'day, Josh. I was just wondering, when back at sort of the start of preparation, when you were in the West Indies and some of the batters started to go after you, you said that you had to work on being less predictable. Do you see yourself as less predictable now? And if so, how have you got there?
It's funny you put it like that. I've probably almost gone the opposite way now. I think, spending a bit of time at Chennai, a bit of time with Stephen Fleming and Eric Simons, just chatting about, batters are probably expecting that. They're expecting you to change. If you get hit for 4 or 6, they're probably expecting something different next ball. So it's, I think the wickets are a little bit different here as well, but it's about, they're expecting something different. So just keep doing the same thing and make them hit 4s and 6s off your good deliveries, just above the stumps, a hard length. So, and that seemed to be working for the last, few weeks in IPL and then again last night. So again, it's different conditions, different countries. So you sort of got to weigh that up and move forward with what's working best.
And do you have a different plan if you come across a kind of situation again where the batters maybe are moving around the crease a lot?
Yeah, again, I think every game is different, and that's what I've learned over the last few weeks is, we played, I think, 7 different IPL teams and then South Africa again yesterday, and every game throws up something different. So I think it's, about training and about getting everything in order at training and prepare yourself for anything, and then sort of summing it up as a bowling group once you're out there and what's working best. So not necessarily worrying about the batsman, but it's worrying about the conditions and executing what you think is going to work best in those conditions.
Thanks for that.
Ben Horn.
Okay, Josh. Just I guess following on in a similar theme. We sort of hear about T20 cricket. The funky sort of ways of approaching it as a bowler. That so many countries and so many teams really focus on specialists and things like that. But as far as you're concerned, the basics of good Test match bowling apply to T20 cricket, and is that essentially what you try and do? What makes you a great Test bowler? Do you also believe that can make you a great T20 bowler?
Yeah, I do at certain situations in the game and at certain times, no doubt. And probably my first 2 overs, last night suggested that, and then you sort of bowl one in the middle and one at the end, and you've got to weigh up, where the boundaries are bigger, who you're bowling at, conditions, what the wicket's doing. So it's just about thinking on your feet as well, and again preparing for every situation, and then working out what's best as not only myself but as a bowling group and putting that into practice. So there's certainly a place for your line and length, and then there's certainly times where it doesn't work.
Mate, just one last question from me. You were left out of the 2019 ODI World Cup. How much at the time, were you miffed by that? And, has it driven you at all to, prove a point in white ball cricket since that decision by the selectors?
That was a long time ago now. I don't even remember last week, let alone that long ago. So I'll just play every game as best I can and focus on, that next ball. And it's a cliche, but yeah, I try and stay in the moment I'm in and just worry about the next over and next game.
Andrew McGlashan.
Thanks, Cole. Hey, Josh. Pat touched on it the other day, and JL a few hours ago, sort of about the squad mentality that you guys are going to have in this tournament. Does that sort of throw up the option that one of you might bowl terrifically well in a game and then actually be left out of the next game purely for a matchup or a tactical reason based on the opposition you're facing?
Yeah, I guess it could. I mean, it can go both ways, I guess. We obviously got a lot of quality players here, and we've got 15. So, there's sum that up at the start of every match. But I mean, if the team's going well and everyone's playing well, then you can sort of adapt to those conditions as well. So, you can sort of look at it both sides of it. But there's certainly some guys sitting on the bench who are really good T20 players. So it's great to have the depth, and I guess you're in a good position if you have to make hard calls on the 11.
And just one on the conditions in the next couple of games. You're switching to a sort of the second game in the day for the next two matches. From your IPL experience, what difference could playing later in the day have on how the game plays out?
I'm pretty sure we're at Dubai for the next few night games, and the conditions don't change a hell of a lot there. I mean, they probably change more at Sharjah and Abu Dhabi. So the Dubai wicket actually maintains it pretty well. There might be a slight advantage in batting second, but I'd have to have a look at the stats of IPL to second that. But all in all, it stays pretty similar at Dubai.
Thanks, Josh. Cheers, mate.
Scott Bailey.
Yeah, g'day, Josh. Hey, I'm just wondering, in terms of like yourself, Mitch and Pat have played so much cricket together, and obviously like in Test cricket and even in one-day cricket, there's so much about bowling in partnerships. Like, you don't necessarily bowl in partnerships as much in T20 cricket, but does it in any way is an advantage? Does it help be able to bowl with those guys again, and does it have any tactical advantage in that sense?
Probably not, to be honest. As you said, you don't really bowl in partnerships. You're sort of bowling one over here or there, or maybe back-to-back overs. But I think it's just all the bowling groups for Australia, you know, we adapt really well and we talk as a group really well, get that messaging around, you know, after the first couple of overs, what's working, what's not. And, you know, it's just about adapting after you get that information. So, and that's the spinners included. You know, they bowl a little bit different, obviously, but still we're circulating that information and getting back to, you know, the 5-6 bowlers and what's working. So, yeah, there's no real bowling partnerships, I guess, and it's a little bit different to the other formats.
Yeah, gotcha. And I know your mind's firmly in Dubai right now, but if I can just take you forward a month or so to Ashes build up, have you got a thought on how much red ball prep you'll need to, you know, be ready and at your best for the Gabba? Because obviously it's been a while since you picked up a red ball. And also, do you have in mind what an ideal prep might be, if it could even be playing against the Lions or something like that, to try and, if it's against playing against England's players, I guess, to try and get yourself right?
I think in all the formats, I tend to bowl pretty similar, except, you know, obviously the back end of T20s. But, you know, my first 2 overs up front, that's pretty much how I'm going to bowl in Test cricket. So I don't really notice much different red or white ball. The other guys might be different, but I think, you know, it's more the miles and the legs. It's probably, you know, 1 or 2 big days of training where we might bowl 14, 16 overs in a day with some fielding. And if we get that under our belts, then I'm fine. I don't feel like I need a match of any sort. You know, it's just about getting that one or 2 big days here or there, and I'm fine.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Scott. Dan Breddick.
G'day, Josh. I wanted to sort of flip that question back the other way about, you know, Test cricket bowling being applicable in 2020. Having played quite a bit of T20 in the last little while, do you think there'll be anything you'll take back to Test cricket in certain scenarios where you might be able to do something slightly differently, or have an additional string to your bow to just I suppose, being as consistent as possible?
Yeah, I think there's certainly opportunities, you know, depending on how the game's flowing. And, you know, if a team's trying to set up a chase or chasing a total on day 5, then, you know, and the wicket's still good, you sort of have to have your own tricks rather than using the wicket. So there's certainly times when, you know, probably even when the tail's slogging at the end, and, you know, the line and length's probably the easiest ball to hit, you can mix it up with some slow balls or slow ball bounces and just put them out of that rhythm. So there's certainly times within Test matches where your T20 bowling comes into play.
And I guess the obvious follow-up to that is, if you cast your mind back to when Ben Stokes was really going at Headingley in 2019, I mean, do you think, yeah, based on some of the recent T20 experiences you've had, there would have been some different things tried? And I suppose if you are in a scenario in the future where someone is really going like that you could bring something different?
Yeah, I mean, there's often not a time restraint on the batting. So, you know, in terms of runs against balls, and, you know, you probably can't go wide Yorkers and different things. You got to try and get the player out. So, yeah, there's certain things that I've thought about trying to get in that if I was in that situation. And, you know, the more T20 you play, the more confident you're going to get in those change ups and putting them into practice, you know, in that day 4 or 5 scenario, which we had in Headingley.
And just lastly on that note, like, obviously, you know, I know Nathan Lyon spoke about it the other day, sort of hoping that, you know, maybe it'd be nice for Ben to get out to Australia at some point in the Ashes series. I mean, would you really like the opportunity to get to bowl at him again this summer?
Yeah, absolutely. You want their best team here, so yeah, I'm happy if I'm happy if he comes out and he's a class act. So yeah, strengthens their team. It's all the more competitive.
Thanks, Josh.
Looks like we've got one more here from Benny Horn.
Josh, I guess just the day after the win against South Africa, what would you describe as sort of the main thing you get from that? I mean, do you feel like you're in the tournament now, you know, where there's some nerves that needed to be overcome? Like, yeah, what's sort of the big thing you've taken from, you know, from getting that win, even though it wasn't, you know, exactly pretty, I suppose?
Yeah, I think that's sort of how you win your first game of a tournament. There's a few nerves flying around, obviously, on both sides, and that's how it looked. Both batting lineups went about it last night. They were a bit nervous, weren't sort of overconfident with their shots. So I think just being quite a short tournament, there's only 5 games in the pool, and it's certainly better to be one win than one loss. So yeah, it feels like you're in the tournament, and you're sort of that one step closer to a semi-final. And yeah, I think it's just great to get home in a real close game last night. You know, for that lower order to get the job done, which, you know, I sort of felt like it was going to happen the whole game, but it's good to tick it off.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Once again.